You think pirates simply suffered from dehydration at sea, but they had mastered life-saving techniques. Here's the thing about seawater that sounds completely backwards, Hope. Drinking it kills you faster. Most people assume desperate pirates just endured terrible thirst while surrounded by endless water. But that's completely wrong. Smartest pirate crews had developed counterintuitive seawater survival techniques. These weren't lucky discoveries. They were sophisticated methods separating legendary captains from failures. Successful pirates understood seawater doesn't just fail to quench thirst, it accelerates dehydration. They had to learn how to outsmart the very element that surrounded them completely. Here's the horrifying science. Seawater salt content is 3 times higher than kidneys handle. When you drink it, your body desperately tries diluting salt by pulling water from cells. You end up losing more fluid than you gained, like putting out fire with gasoline. Pirates figured this out through brutal trial and error during endless months at sea. Ships were floating wooden boxes with limited storage space for essential fresh water supplies. Captains made impossible choices between carrying fresh water or supplies for trading and fighting. Most chose supplies, thinking they'd solve the water problem later. Right. Bad choice completely. Crews watched water supplies dwindle daily, knowing the surrounding ocean was completely useless. Desperate sailors would sneak sips of seawater, only to become violently ill within hours. Their bodies cramped with excruciating pain as organs struggled processing overwhelming salt loads. They'd get severe diarrhea that dehydrated them faster, and minds played vicious tricks. Some pirates reported seeing fresh water springs on horizons that weren't actually there. Their brains created hallucinations of the one thing they needed most desperately: water. The psychological torture was worse than physical agony of slow death from thirst. Picture being surrounded by lifetimes worth of water, but knowing every drop kills you.
Pirates would go insane from constant temptation, staring at endless liquid while tongues swelled.
Smart captains learned that thirst could destroy crews faster than any enemy cannon fire.
Stories spread about ships found drifting empty, crews dead from dehydration while surrounded.
These weren't scary tales. They were warnings about deadly mathematics of survival.
The cruel irony drove some pirates to suicide rather than endure slow thirst. Others went completely mad, attacking shipmates or throwing themselves overboard in desperation.
Clean drinking water became more valuable than pieces of eight to desperate crews.
Pirates would guard water barrels like treasure chests, because that's exactly what they were.
When water ran low, even loyal crew members turned violent over precious rations.
Mutinies started over water rations more often than unfair treasure splits among crews. The nightmare scenario was watching fresh water disappear while surrounded by undrinkable ocean. Ships carried water in massive oak barrels, taking enormous amounts of precious cargo space. Captains constantly faced brutal choices between carrying survival water or profitable trading supplies.
Most merchant vessels followed strict water rationing that left crews constantly thirsty, but alive.
Captain Blackbeard said his biggest fear wasn't the Navy, it was running out.
Pirates couldn't rely on scheduled port visits or predictable supply routes for water.
They might spend months chasing targets, making water management a life or death skill. Psychological pressure of diminishing supplies created special kind of hell aboard pirate ships. Crew members obsessed over every drop, measuring and remeasuring their daily water rations. Sleep became impossible, knowing tomorrow's ration might be smaller than today's portion.
Some pirates developed elaborate theft schemes to steal extra water from common supplies.
These water thieves were executed when discovered, but temptation remained irresistible when dying.
Social bonds holding crews together dissolved when water became scarce enough for violence.
Pirate trial stories describe crews that turned cannibalistic when water supplies failed completely. Desperate pirates killed and drank shipmates' blood, reasoning it contained more water.
These acts showed how far rational men fell when facing certain death from thirst.
Experienced pirates realized they needed to become water experts or watch crews die horribly.
They learned to pray for rain as survival mat, not just weather preference. Smart pirates realized their first instinct should be looking skyward and praying for rainfall.
But they couldn't just stand with mouths open like confused pelicans waiting.
Successful crews rigged elaborate rainwater collection systems using whatever materials were available aboard. They turned ships into sophisticated water harvesting machines, capturing precious rainfall with impressive efficiency. The key was positioning everything so rainwater flowed into barrels instead of ocean. Pirates stretched tarps and sails tight, creating giant funnels, channeling every precious drop.
But using dirty sails was like drinking through socks marinating in salt spray.
Pirates learned to wash canvas collection surfaces thoroughly before any rain came down.
This meant investing current water supplies, hoping for future collection success. Dangerous gamble. Makeshift gutters and channels were works of improvised engineering, impressing modern plumbers today.
They fashioned spouts from wood scraps, creating networks funneling water into centralized storage. Some crews collected dozens of gallons during single storms, turning rainfall into survival.
But positioning was everything. Pirates had to predict wind patterns and directions.
Getting this wrong meant watching precious rainfall flow back into the undrinkable ocean. Most successful crews developed permanent collection systems, staying rigged and ready always.
These weren't temporary setups. They were carefully planned installations becoming ship structure.
Some pirates became so obsessed, they'd alter sailing routes to chase storm systems.
They reasoned that water was more valuable than time when it came to survival.
These water hunting expeditions added weeks, but meant arriving with living crews instead. Most desperate pirates tried dew collection during humid nights, soaking cloth and canvas. Amounts were tiny, maybe few cups per cloth, but every drop counted. Some crews rotated dew collection duties, turning moisture harvesting into systematic operations. After collecting rainwater, pirates faced enormous challenges keeping precious liquid from turning toxic.
Water storage became sophisticated science that pirates mastered through desperate necessity and experimentation.
Every ship carried massive oak barrels sealed with pitch, attempting to keep contents fresh.
But water sitting in wooden barrels didn't stay water for long periods. Wood would start rotting from inside, turning drinking supplies into slimy, foul-smelling messes.
Bacteria loved these dark, moist environments and threw parties that could kill drinkers.
Barrels weren't new. They'd stored everything previously, and water picked up flavors. Pirates discovered carefully collected rainwater would turn into toxic soup within days sometimes.
You could die of thirst while surrounded by barrels of liquid sicker than seawater.
Desperate times called for desperate measures, and pirates started experimenting with fire solutions.
The breakthrough came when clever pirates figured out fire could actually save water supplies.
They started deliberately burning inside wooden barrels before filling them with precious water.
This charring trick was pure genius disguised as destruction, creating natural filtration systems. The process was simple. Light controlled fires inside empty oak barrels, carefully.
Let flames lick and blacken interior wood without destroying the container's structural integrity. They'd stop before barrels fell apart, leaving behind charred, blackened wood coating inside.
Then they'd fill burnt barrels with water supplies and wait for magic to happen.
Charred wood acted like nature's own water filter, grabbing nasty particles and bacteria. Think of it as the world's first charcoal filter system, invented by illiterate geniuses. Pirates noticed charred barrel water stayed cleaner longer, lasting weeks instead of days. This accidental discovery became standard practice because it actually saved precious lives effectively. Modern whiskey makers still char barrels for similar reasons. Burnt wood changes liquid. While charred barrels helped, innovative pirates discovered something even more surprising about freshness. Tossing silver coins into water barrels wasn't superstition, Tug. It was accidental antibacterial genius. Pirates noticed barrels containing silver coins stayed clearer longer without developing green color.
What they didn't know was silver kills bacteria by releasing ions destroying organisms.
Silver-treated water stayed drinkable for weeks longer than untreated supplies, with better taste.
Pirates argued over which coins worked best, with Spanish pieces of 8 popular.
Smart captains hoarded silver for water treatment rather than spending on shore leave.
When gold ran low, they kept silver because clean water was more valuable. Silver coins were easy to retrieve when refilling barrels, creating reusable purification systems.
Modern hospitals still use silver in medical equipment for same antibacterial properties.
When rainfall and storage weren't enough, desperate pirates turned to pure magic cat, distillation.
They created homemade systems turning deadly seawater into fresh water through dangerous processes.
Basic principle was simple. Boil seawater, catch steam, let it cool back.
But executing this on rocking ships without starting fatal fires was absolutely brutal. Pirates began amateur chemists designing distillation rigs functioning under impossible maritime conditions. Most successful systems used copper pots heated over carefully controlled fires with collection pans. Captain Bartholomew Roberts ordered special distillation rigs built right into his ship's structure.
His crew thought he was crazy until they realized
This contraption saved lives.
But these rigs were dangerous. One wrong move could start fatal ship fires. Pirates balanced keeping flames hot enough while not burning down their only survival means. Setup required someone monitoring fire, adjusting heat, and managing collection processes around clock. The fuel problem was enormous. Every burned wood couldn't be used elsewhere. Desperate crews burned furniture, spare rope, even old boots, broad, anything generating heat.
The smell was terrible, and smoke created visibility problems interfering with navigation.
Speed was critical. Homemade stills produced water incredibly slowly, maybe cups hourly.
Thirsty crew of 30 needed gallons daily just to survive, let alone fight.
Mathematics were brutal. You might die before producing enough water to matter. Smart pirates timed distillation during calm weather when ships weren't pitching wildly dangerously. Some crews organized shifts, keeping the process running continuously with different pirates.
Copper tubing came from melted down coins, jewelry, or stolen church items, ironically.
Their plundered treasure literally became lifeline, transformed from wealth symbols into survival tools. When conventional methods failed, pirates turned to increasingly desperate and innovative experimental techniques.
These methods sometimes saved lives, sometimes created new ways to die from thirst.
Solar distillation using animal bladders represented one of the most creative survival techniques. They'd fill tough bladders with seawater, hang them in sunlight, causing internal evaporation. Fresh water droplets collected on inner walls. Pirates could drain this through holes.
Process was slow, but worked without fuel, perfect when traditional distillation was impossible.
Some crews hung dozens of bladders around ships, creating solar water farms operating continuously.
Buried clay pot systems used Earth's steady temperature, creating natural evaporation chambers underground.
Pirates buried porous containers with seawater, collected cleaner water seeping through clay walls.
This required patience and suitable islands, but could produce substantial drinkable water.
The seaweed filtering trick sounds weird, but certain kelp helped separate salt naturally. When mixed with seawater, these plants absorbed salt while releasing cleaner liquid.
Most creative pirates used ships' cannons as heat exchangers for faster distillation processes.
They'd run pipes through heated cannon barrels, turning seawater to steam quicker.
Ice collection in northern waters provided surprisingly sophisticated survival technique for smart crews.
Pirates learned sea ice contained less salt than liquid seawater. Snow was better.
Some crews built special ice collection nets, specifically for harvesting frozen precipitation. Trial and error nature meant some pirates died, testing methods that might save crews.
But successful innovations spread quickly through fleets, creating survival knowledge, transforming seafaring. As we reflect on these incredible survival tales, something profound emerges about pirates.
Perfect irony was inescapable fools. Ocean masters chased gold while needing colorless liquid.
Pirates who understood water were ones who lived long enough to become legends.
While others died from dehydration, smart crews survived through innovation and preparation.
Their techniques weren't just survival tricks. They were sophisticated engineering solutions. They demonstrated remarkable human ingenuity under impossible pressure and desperate circumstances, completely. Water methods pirates developed, accidentally, advanced several fields of science and technology. Their charcoal filtration influenced modern treatment. Distillation informed industrial processes later.
Solar evaporation understanding contributed to renewable energy concepts centuries before formal recognition.
But deeper lesson was about priorities and what constitutes real treasure, ultimately.
Pirates accumulated wealth, but successful ones understood staying alive required mastering water science.
They learned to value invisible, tasteless liquid over shiny metals and gems.
The ocean taught fearsome sea raiders their most important lesson about humility.
You could be most feared captain, but still depended on finding fresh water.
The sea enabling criminal careers was also sea that could kill through thirst.
Greatest pirates weren't just skilled fighters, enduring. They were masters of survival science. They understood epic battles weren't fought against human enemies, but against nature. Their fights were against fundamental challenge of staying alive while surrounded by ocean. The elements supporting their ships couldn't support their bodies. Cruel ocean irony.
Water was indeed the real treasure, and understanding pirates lived to tell tales.
These survival stories still fascinate us today because they show human determination.
Pirates transformed from feared criminals into innovative scientists when lives depended on it.
Their water techniques saved more lives than any treasure they ever discovered. The ocean that made piracy possible also made survival an endless scientific challenge.
Every successful voyage required mastering the art of turning salt water into life.
Pirates proved that desperation could drive innovation faster than formal education or training.
Their homemade solutions often worked better than expensive equipment available on land.
The irony of being surrounded by water while dying of thirst drove incredible creativity. Pirates learned that true wealth wasn't gold go. It was knowledge keeping you alive.
Their survival techniques became legacy more valuable than any treasure they ever buried.
The ocean taught them that mastery meant understanding both its power and limitations.
Pirates who survived weren't just lucky. They were scientists who conquered thirst.
Their battle against dehydration was more epic than any sword fight or cannon battle.
In the end, water was the real treasure cax, and smart pirates understood this completely.